from now. Okay, hello everybody. And hi Sara again, officially hello.
Officially hello, yeah.
Right, I hope you're good, you're well. I can see some friends. I hope all of you are doing great. Today we are with Sara. She's going to talk about nonviolent communication. This is amazing. Okay, yes, we are live. It's fine. It's good. Everything is good. We are set to go. Sara, tell us about yourself a little bit. Majority of people here know you. You introduce yourself, and then we get to the book.
Sure. Okay. So hello, everybody. And thank you for being here. This is very exciting. I love this. And thank you, Alireza, again, for organizing this awesome summit. Again, I love the title, Book Lovers Summit. So I'm Sara. I see a lot of names that I know, but for some of you that don't know me, I'm a certified life coach and a grief specialist. What I focus on mostly is what I'm going to talk about today, communication skills and relationships. So basically, I would call myself a relationship coach, but mostly in terms of having a good relationship with yourself first, and then how we can actually have great relationships with other people, especially our partners or adults I'm talking about. I'm not really going into deep with kids or anything. But yeah, how we can basically build and improve our communication skills through a compassionate heart so we can have a better relationship with other people. That's basically what I do.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So you showed us the book. Tell us a little bit about the book. So we are interested.
Okay, so some of you might know, but if you're new here, I would love it when you're engaged, guys. So make sure that, you know, just type your questions in the chat box, or if you have any comments, I would love to read them. If I ask any questions, make sure, you know, to just get engaged, which is perfect. So the book that I'm going to talk about today is called Nonviolent Communications. And this is by Marshall Rosenberg. And basically, it is a communication skill. So it teaches us how to communicate through a compassionate heart without any violence. And so my question from the audience is, what do you think when you hear the word violence, or when you hear the word violent communication, what comes into your head? Can you share in the chat box?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So yeah, because a lot of times you say, okay, so what is non-violent communication? So then what do you mean by violent communication? Do you mean that, oh, if we get physical, then it's violent? So what do we mean? Or when it comes to your mind, when I say violent conversation or communication? Anybody want to share? Okay. Harsh communication. Okay. Harsh.
I cheated. I know the answer, but I don't.
Being aggressive. Don't cheat, Alireza. Yeah, don't say that. Okay. Being aggressive, very good. Anger, forceful. Thank you, Vida. Abuse, controlling, bully. Great.
Good point.
Very good. Misunderstanding that cannot be resolved peacefully. Mona, good job. Okay, very good. Yeah. So you have an idea, right? So I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to actually read it and tell you what it is. So Marshall Rosenberg says, if violent means acting in ways that result in hurt or harm, then much of how we communicate could indeed be called violent communication. So basically what he's trying to say is that any communication that results in hurt or harm, and when we say hurt or harm, either physically or emotionally. So it doesn't necessarily have to be physical violence or you know, just being too violent or angry. So anything, any communication that results in harm or hurt emotionally could be violent. And then what do we mean by that? So some people said like bullying. Some people said anger. So when we're angry, usually we're attacking other people, right? We raise our voice, right? Or sometimes we judge the other people. So we blame other people. We bully other people. We manipulate. So all of those, what we do in our communications, is a form of violent communication. So what I would like you to, again, share in the chat box is constant yelling. Yeah, I love that, constant yelling. So what I want you to tell me is, think about your own communication skills. When you are communicating with your partner, or when you're communicating with your friend or any family member, what is usually the result? Do you think that your communication or your argument ends in peace? Or do you think it always remains unresolved? This could be communication or argument with your friend or family member, partner, at work, anything. So, okay. What is so?
50-50.
What do you mean by
50-50?
Oh, it's 50-50.
Well, it's the same. So
yeah, it's the same. So yeah, what exactly does it mean? If we conduct in an efficient way, it will be resolved. Okay, good. Mona? Yeah. If we conduct, mostly, oops, sorry. We mostly don't, right? And when we talk about, so if violent communication is bullying, blaming, judging, or attacking, or name calling, right? Then what is nonviolent communication? Nonviolent communication is a communication that connects through heart. Is a communication that we are able to empathize with the other person. It's a communication that we can feel the other person's feeling and we can understand the other person. So that's the communication that comes from the heart through compassion, right? So what I'm just gonna actually read here, it's very interesting. We wanna know why, because in nature, we are compassionate, right? We know how to connect from the heart, but what blocks our compassionate heart? What doesn't let us be very compassionate when it comes to communicating with each other? Any idea? Any idea? If we are connected to our compassionate nature, and we know that for having a nonviolent communication, we have to connect through heart, then what blocks this? What blocks our compassionate heart?
Okay, we have some answers from Gail and Mona. Mona says anger.
So in that way, the person is always put down and called degrading. Very good. Names that makes you feel unworthy. Very good. Very good, Gail. Unmanageable situation. Fear. Very good. Fear of what? Tell me, fear of what? If the other party don't want to resolve and thinking about being winner. Perfect.
Win-lose attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Black or white, win, lose, exactly. And if you remember, I don't know if you were in the other, in the last session, we were talking about the jackal attitude, saying that the jackal is very competitive and he always wants to win. So it's exactly the same. A violent communication is exactly the same thing. You want to win because, you know, you want to say, oh, I have the power, you don't, right? So I'm right, you're not right? Very, very good. Feeling being unjustified, very good. Fear to be heard and stand up for your rights, very good, exactly. So, so a lot of reasons block this compassion, and a lot of reasons happen are there. Again, we want to talk about them. So one of them, the first one that blocks this basically Compassion is judgment.
Mhm.
We judge a lot. We're always judging unconsciously all the time, like all the language that we say, oh my God, Sarah is so lazy. Oh my God, she doesn't understand anything. Oh my God, this is so ugly. Oh my God, she's this, she's that. It's always the language of judgment. But what do you think judgment is? Any idea? What is judgment?
That's a good question.
What is judgment? Looking at the stuff from our eyes, okay, very good. Great answer, Mona.
Mona is very sharp today.
I know. Mona, did you read the book before? The worthless behavior, yeah, very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, so basically judgment is when we compare other people's behavior with our own standards. So if I say, Alireza is so lazy, what am I doing here? I have a definition for myself for someone who's lazy or someone who's active, right? And then if Alireza falls below that standard, for me, Alireza is lazy, right? So I'm comparing other people's values, and if whatever values they have in their life don't align or agree with my values or my standards in life, then I can just simply label them as lazy, label them as careless, label them as a lot of things, right? So this is it happens all the time, and we do that all the time. So if I'm active, if I think that being active or not being lazy means that I have to work out, for example, 5 hours a day, and if Alireza doesn't do that, he does that once an hour a day, then Alireza is lazy to me. Right? So the second thing that we do that blocks compassion, so the first one was judgment. The second one is making comparisons. Oh my God. We do that all the time, especially, I have to say, in our culture. Comparison. Ooh, look at Sarah's husband. Matthew cooks all the time. Why don't you do that? Right? Or for example, oh, look at who I can say. I don't know anybody here who has kids. Look at, for example, Shohra's son, how successful he is. He's doing this, he's doing that, he has his PhD, he's making a lot of money, So we are always comparing. The other person is doing this, why are you not doing that? So we always compare. So making comparison blocks compassion. Who wants to be compared? I hate it. Like the moment that Matthew want to say something, and I feel like, I'm like, stop it. Who likes that? Do you like being compared to other people, guys? Do you? You don't. But we do that to other people. We do that to our partners. We do that to our kids, right? We're always comparing. The second factor that blocks compassion is denial of responsibility. Denial of responsibility, right? So what does that mean? For example, the moment that I say, Alireza, you made me angry, done. I'm denying my responsibility. Why? Because I'm blaming him for my anger and my reaction. If I want to take responsibility, then I say, okay, so Alireza said this, and this happened, and what meaning am I giving to this situation, and what happened, and what Alireza said, and what am I thinking about it, and how do I feel about this? Okay, now, how am I supposed to react? How am I supposed to behave in this situation? Then I'm taking responsibility. But if I say, oh, Alireza, you made me angry, you made me this, you did this to me, if I'm miserable in my life, if I'm depressed in my life, it's because of you. Done. Blocking compassion. So denial of responsibility is another factor that blocks compassion. So we should be careful about that. And what should we do about that now? So we say that the first component, there are 4 components to have this nonviolent communication. The first one is observation. The second one is expressing our feelings. The third one is expressing our needs. And the fourth one is expressing our request. So I'm just going to go one by one and tell you what they are. So when we start a conversation, again, let's say, for example, instead of, oh, you made me angry, or you did this, or you never listened to me, or you da-da-da-da-da, what should we do? The first thing we should do is to observe. And what do we mean by observe? Like, does anybody know the difference between observation and evaluation? When do we observe? When do we evaluate? For example, if I say, oh, Alireza is lazy, do you think it's an observation? Put it in the chat box. Is it an observation or evaluation? Alireza is lazy, Alireza procrastinates. Is it an observation? Evaluation, Ghazal? Yeah. Observation has no judgment. Mona, I love you. You remember those lessons, right? That's good. Very good. Evaluation, evaluation, evaluation. Perfect. Okay. It is an evaluation. But what is the difference between evaluation and observation? So if I say, Alireza, I'm sorry that I'm putting...
It's okay. I'm the target. It's okay.
I know. I can't put anybody else on the target. Sorry about that. So if I say, Alireza woke up at 11 today and just didn't really do anything, didn't do much, he didn't exercise or anything. He was just walking around, idling around until 12. And then around 12, he started, watching TV and this, and then around 4 o'clock, he had a webinar at 6 o'clock, and then at 5 or 4, he just prepared for the webinar. He started preparing for the webinar, right? This is an observation. There is no judgment. I'm not mixing it with any judgment, right? But if I say, Alireza is lazy, and this judgment, again, I'm comparing what I think is correct to do as someone who's not lazy. I'm comparing what he's doing with my standards, with my values, right? So observation there is no judgment in observation. It's mostly you're talking about facts. Observation is if you take your observation to the court, you can prove it. If there is a camera here, it shows what Alireza did from morning to night. But our judgment is mixed with evaluation. Oh, he did this, so it was good or it was bad. So we are giving it, basically combining it with our judgment, right? So that's judgment. So first thing, we don't want to judge. We want to observe. And this happened all the time. This happened all the time. I'm giving you an example. For example, if I say, well, you never listen to me. You're always on your phone. Especially these words or adverbs that we use all the time to exaggerate things. Oh my God, they kill conversations, they kill communications. They do. Because in reality, It's not never, or it's not always. It's not black or white. It's just because we are frustrated, we are saying it like that, right? So instead of, oh, you never listen to me, if I go to Matthew and I'm talking to him and he's on his phone and I ask him, oh, do you want to have dinner? And he doesn't reply. And then I just, you know, just snap and say, you never listen to me. What happens? He gets defensive and he's like, what do you mean I never listen to you? I do listen to you, right? So observation would be, oh, I asked you if you wanted to have lunch or dinner and you didn't reply. This is an observation, right? So I'm giving you a sentence and I want you to tell me what would be the observation for this sentence, okay? For example, if I say, first of all, tell me if it's an observation or evaluation, and then tell me if this is an evaluation, then what is the observation for that? For example, if I say, Alireza works too much. Is this an observation or evaluation? Evaluation, Mona. Very good. Evaluation, very good. So what would be the observation? Instead of Alireza works too much, what would be the observation? Give me a sentence. He works 10 hours. Very good. Yeah. Observation. Oh, he works 10 hours a day. Very good. Or he works long hours. Or, yeah, 10 hours a day. Alireza, you work hard, huh? 10 hours a day.
It's more than 10 hours, but yes.
It's more. Oh, Alireza works too much,
evaluate.
Right? So if I want to, yes, if I work 10 hours a day myself, then to me it might be like, oh, okay, so it's not too much. But for someone who maybe works 2 hours a day, then it's too much, right? So we are evaluating his action. Very good. Thank you, guys. Awesome. I love it that you're so active. Okay, so let's move to the next part. So the first one, we talked about observation. So we observe without any judgment, right? And the second one is identifying and expressing our feelings. A lot of times we cannot even name our own feelings. A lot of times when I ask you, how do you feel? You give me, you can just write a story for me. You can't even express your feeling in one word, especially for people who are, I would like to say, very logical, people who are introverts, people who, you know, very analytical, and they're not very in tune with their own feelings. If I tell them, oh, how do you feel? They can go on sentences and sentences telling me how they think, but not how they feel, right? So it's important to identify our feelings. Why? Why in a conversation? Why when you're communicating with someone, it's important to say how you feel? Any idea? Any idea? To avoid wrong impressions. Very good.
Wrong impressions. Mm-hmm.
Very good, Raza. Anybody else? Because when you tell the other person how you feel, you're vulnerable, right? And usually when you feel vulnerable in a communication, in a conversation, it touches the heart, right? It touches someone like the other person's heart. It's very different than you just talk about things and, you know, blah, 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 and because you want to show that, oh, I have the power, or, oh, a lot of times our egos, oh my God, because of our egos, oh, I'm not going to say how I feel in this. I'm not going to say that I'm feeling scared. I don't want to show him that I'm scared. I don't want to tell him that I'm jealous. I don't want to tell him that I feel unappreciated. a lot of times we don't even want to express our feelings because of our ego is in the way, right? So, but when we talk about our feelings, first of all, as I'll mention, we don't give the wrong impression. And second of all, we show that we are vulnerable and we want to connect to them, right? So this is very important. But something that we always do, again, in our conversations, instead of telling the person, okay, so this is what I observed, and from this observation, this is how I feel. You say, this is the observation, and this is, and then you talk about what you think. A simple example, you say, if you ask me, oh, Sarah, how do you feel when you go to Matt and he's not, or he doesn't answer your question? And then I say, oh, I feel like I'm talking to the wall. That's not a feeling. That's your thought. That's your opinion, right? So what is your feeling? Oh, maybe I feel disconnected. I feel upset. I feel ignored. This is the feeling. This is how you feel. So it's important to express your vulnerability by expressing your feelings. And again, it is important to know how you feel about something. And it is important to be able to identify your feelings, right? Again, we don't want to mix our feelings with our thoughts. One big mistake is when you say, I feel that. When you start saying that, it means that you're talking about your opinion.
It's not a feeling.
Exactly, right? Or for example, you say, I don't know, oh, I feel that you should know better, Alireza. That's not a feeling. That's about what you think about Alireza, and it's not about you. And don't forget, guys, when we, in a conversation, in a communication, we want to talk about ourselves. It's not about the other person. We want to talk about what I saw, how I feel, what I need, and what is it that I want from you. And then you listen to the other person. Okay, now what you heard about what I said, and how do you feel, and what is your need, and what is your request? Communicating through a compassionate heart, right? So let's go back. So feelings, be careful with your feelings. Your feelings are feelings. Your feelings are what happens in your body. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's how you feel in your heart, in your body. If you're stressed, if you're angry, if you feel ignored, if you feel disconnected, insecure, threatened, or I don't know, embarrassed. I'm trying to read some of these, like excited, insecure, or blue, or numb, or overwhelmed, or unappreciated, or these are all feelings. So be careful with your feelings and do not mix them with your thoughts, okay? Question for you, type in the chat box. Is it a feeling or is it not a feeling? It's a thought. I feel you don't love me. Is it a feeling or is it a thought? Very good, Sherry. Thought, yeah. Oh, I feel you don't love me. That's not your feeling. How do you feel? I feel heartbroken because I think he doesn't love me, right? Another one. I feel like hitting you. Yeah, exactly. It's a thought. Very good. See, that's cool. How about, I feel scared when you say that. Feeling. Very good. Feeling. You. Ali. Great. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So feelings, do not mix it with your thoughts. Perfectly. Okay. So when you feel something, when you feel like frustrated or overwhelmed or angry or exhausted or insecure, there is always, 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 always a need behind that feeling. Listen again. There is always a need that has not unmet behind that feeling. So what is it that you need? Maybe there's something that you need to do for yourself, or maybe it's something that you need from someone else. What is it? What is that need? So we want to basically connect that feeling to that need, the need that hasn't been responded to. I'm going to explain more. So what happens is a lot of times when we blame ourselves, we end up being depressed. We end up being or feeling guilty or shame. That's why sometimes we don't even express our needs. And sometimes for a very, very long time, we have suppressed that need for a very long time that we cannot even identify that need. For example, well, I'll give you the example later. Sometimes if we blame ourselves, we end up feeling depressed, guilty, or shame. If we blame other people, then we feel angry. If I blame Alireza for, I don't know, making me feel bad or miserable or whatever, then I'm angry. I'm angry at him, right? So I'm blaming someone else. So when you blame someone else, you feel angry because you feel powerless. You think that, oh my God, I'm sitting here and the other person is doing all of this to me. So you feel angry because you have that basically victim's mentality that I can't do anything, I can't control this situation, and the other person is doing it to me, right? So you blame the other person. What we need to do, or what we need to learn, is to have a sense of our feelings and our needs, and have a sense of someone else's feelings and needs. Okay, now, so I told you that sometimes we feel we are not even connected to our needs, and sometimes we suppress that need and we can't even identify that. Let's talk about this. For example, if I tell Matthew, my fiance, I start, nagging and say, oh my God, you don't love me, you don't care about me, you're working long hours, you're blah, 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 blah. What is the need behind this? What is it? What do you think it is? Attention, good. Attention. Time with him, yeah, quality time with him, communication. You need more care. Connection, very good. Intimacy, connection. So, very good, guys. So, yeah, exactly. So, if I say, you're working long hours and you make me angry because you work long hours and you totally ignore me, it's quarantine, you're ignoring me all the time, and you don't love me, blah, blah, blah. So this is the violent communication. But if I say, oh, babe, when I see that, today you worked 10 hours and we didn't spend any time, we didn't even eat together, I feel disconnected because I value connection and intimacy and quality time in a relationship. This is nonviolent communication. Am I blaming him? No. I'm taking responsibility for my feelings. I'm observing what happened and then how I feel, and what is my need behind that feeling. And again, that need is just it's a universal need. The need could be the need for intimacy, the need for connection, the need for love, the need for attention, the need for appreciation. A lot of times, like with women, for example, or even with men, like you're doing a lot in your relationship and you actually feel maybe overwhelmed and frustrated, but because maybe your partner takes it for granted, and they think that, oh, okay, so this is his job, that's what he has to do, or that's what she has to do, and then we forget to even say thank you. And when we forget to say thank you, what happens? I feel unappreciated, right? I'm like, I'm doing a lot in this house, like he doesn't even see me, and then we go and blame him, or you don't see me. So we should be able to communicate that. So I value, or I need appreciation, because I'm doing a lot in the house. I'm doing a lot here, right? I'm stressed, or I'm tired. Like there are kids in the house, there are things happening in quarantine time or anything in the world, and I need some time for myself. I need privacy. I need rest. So those are the needs that a lot of times we don't even think about them, because we have been suppressing them for a very, very long time, that we can't even identify them anymore. So it's important when you want to get into a conversation with someone, think about your feelings, think about your needs. The needs, what is that need? Is that something that you need to listen to yourself more? Maybe there's something that you have to do for yourself. It's not always about the other person. There is a part that you can only do something for yourself. Your partner, like your happiness, you cannot, there's no way that you make someone make you happy. Yes, you can be happy if I buy you this pen for 5 minutes, but there's things that you have to do for yourself, right? You have, what is the need that you have to listen to? So it's important, be careful. So observation, feelings, and needs, okay? Now,
Sara, there is a question by Gail here.
oh, sure.
She's asking, is this a silent control?
Oh, silent control is one of the other, is another technique. Thank you for asking. Is another technique that I would say is passive aggressive. Is passive aggressive. So in short, if I want to say passive aggressive is, so like aggressive is, you know, you're attacking, you're blaming, you're doing this, you're doing that, right? Passive is when you actually keep quiet because you don't want to rock the boat. You're avoiding that confrontation and stuff, right? So because you're scared. But when you're passive aggressive, this is actually the post that I on my Instagram the other day. When you're passive aggressive, you are passive, you are scared, but you want to be that aggressive one. You want to take control. You want to feel or show your power. So you can't, or you don't dare really do like an aggressive person. So you do it in a very smart or sneaky way, I would say. So you start being sarcastic or making fun of someone, but then you say, oh, it was just, no, I wasn't serious. Oh, yes, you were. Or that silent treatment that you give to the other person. Oh my God. Yes, it's kind of being passive aggressive. Like, why don't you just go and talk about how you feel? Well, I understand that sometimes you need your space to think about something, but if that silent treatment is a way of punishment, or I'm punishing you, but because I don't even know how to confront that. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. Okay, So let's see. Exercise. So I'm going to read another sentence and you identify the need, okay? If I say, I feel frustrated when you come home late. I feel frustrated when you come home late. What is the need behind this feeling? Anybody? I feel frustrated when you come home late. What is the need behind this feeling?
Love, company, care, attention, control.
Control. Yeah, could be control. Yeah.
These are the answers.
Come home. Yeah, need to spend time with me. Yeah, quality time, care, attention. Very good. Very good. Very good. How about another one? I feel scared when you raise your voice. I feel scared when you raise your voice. What is the need behind this? Peace, maybe. Calm conversation, peace. Maybe, very good. Security.
Secure.
Security. Great. Very good, very good. So it is very important when you talk about your feelings, you say why. Again, it's good to show your vulnerability through expressing your feelings, but when you express your feelings, again, for example, I feel scared because you raise your voice. It's always good to say why. I feel scared because you raise your voice. So what is my need? I need my peace, or I value peace, or I value, I don't know, like calm conversation, as some of you suggested. Perfect. Okay, so fourth component of nonviolent communication. So the first one was observation. The second one was expressing your feelings. The third one, expressing your needs. And the fourth one is the request. Okay. So now I observed what happened. I'm talking to you and telling you how I feel about what happened and what is it that I need or value or is important in a relationship for me. Now, what do I want from you? A lot of times we say lots of things and we don't even say what we want. So now it's the time to say, okay, what is my request? What is it that I really want? So the first thing, the way that we express our request is, again, through compassion and positivity. So we don't say, oh, I want you to do this or don't do that. No, we don't want to be comparative here. We just want to ask for a request, right? So, for example, if I say, again, going back to the example that you said, you work too much, or for example, I need or I value connection or company or whatever in our relationship. In what language we can ask for our need or request? How can you say that, oh, so you're working long hours and what is it that I want? Just put it in a sentence.
Love.
Love. How do you make that request in a sentence?
This is the previous, yeah.
Yeah. You're working long hours and I value intimacy and connection and attention and quality time. So what is the request here?
Can we spend more time together? That's what Ghazal says.
Yeah, I would like to spend more time. Oh, okay. So let me tell you about something I would like to spend more time with you. when we make a request, our request should be clear and specific, not vague. This is, okay, yeah, it shows that I want to spend time with you, but it's a little bit vague. What do you mean, I want to spend time with you? I want to spend time with you means, oh, I want to go for a walk with you half an hour a day. I want to spend time with you means I want to watch a movie with you every night, means I want to have a quality time talking to each other over dinner or lunch. What exactly is that? So our request should be clear and specific. A lot of times, for example, you say, oh, give me my privacy. Okay, well, like, privacy is one thing to me, something else to you, right? What do you mean by that, right? What is privacy to you? Or, oh, give me my freedom. I don't have my freedom. Oh, how do you want me to give you your freedom, right? So make it very clear and specific. Again, be positive, be clear, be concrete, and make sure to ask it in a very nice way. Would you be willing to? Next time that, for example, I'm talking to you or I'm asking you a question, would you be willing to give me the answer and then go back to your phone? Or would you be willing to, or could you please spend half an hour a day with me going for a walk together, for example, right? So in a very nice way, and you want to make sure that it's positive. But be careful. There is a difference. There is a very thin line between a request and a demand. So if the other person disagrees with you, if I say, oh, I would like to spend some time with you, would you be, would you, walk with me 1 hour a day, blah, blah, blah. And the other person says, oh, sweetie, I can't because I have a lot to do. I knew you didn't love me, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what is this? Then it means that it wasn't really a request, it was a demand. So you wanted to hear a yes. Of course we want to hear a yes from the other person. Of course we want the other person to agree with us, but he has all the rights. He's allowed to disagree with us, right? So, but then it is important to hear what he has to say, why he's disagreeing with us. What are his feelings? What are his needs? And what is his request? Right? Because a lot of times we say something and then when the other person disagrees, we're like, we don't want to do that. Okay, so if you don't want to spend that 1 hour a day with me, then talk to me. How do you feel about that? What did you hear what I said? A lot of times, because again, in our head, we had our own judgments, we have our own interpretations and everything in our head, right? So you say something, I hear something, and I interpret it in my head, and I react. So the other person is the same thing. So a lot of times when I say something in communication, you can always ask your partner, what did you hear I said? And then when he repeats, you're like, no, I didn't say that, right? Because he has his own interpretations in his head. So it's always good to say, okay, so if you don't want to spend 1 hour with me a day going for a walk, then can you tell me in what other ways we can have that quality time with each other? Let's see what he has to say, right? How does he feel about your request? So it's very, very important. So I'm just trying to see if, I don't want to really miss anything.
Sara, there is also a question here.
A question, okay, sure.
About what you said. Faisal is asking, then what is the point of request? Because most of the time they may say no. And she's saying that this is how the request.
Oh, that's an assumption. That's an assumption.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an assumption. That's an assumption. No. Okay. So the moment you say, oh, I'm not going to say that because I know what she's going to say. That's an assumption. You have, okay. If you Go and talk to your partner with this nonviolent language, talking about yourself, not the other person, not blaming, not judging, not accusing him, talking about your feelings and your needs and your requests. There's no way the other person says no. And it's okay if he says no. Maybe he has his own reasons, and then talk to him. But this is an assumption. Assumption is one of the actually compassion blockers. You don't even want to talk about something because you say, oh, I know what he's going to say. He's going to say no. Okay, so then see why he's saying no. You know, maybe he has a point. Maybe you haven't heard him. Okay, so in a conversation, in any communication, we want to be heard. As much as you want to be heard, the other person wants to be heard too. So it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. That's why we say compassionate communication through heart. So I see things from my point of view. Let me hear him. What is he talking about? Instead of being defensive when he's talking, instead of me in my head, you know, preparing for the answer and, you know, defending myself and saying, oh, you're wrong. No, let me listen with my heart and see what's his pain. And a lot of times people don't know how to express themselves. A lot of people don't know how to talk about their feelings. So let me hear with my heart and see what is his pain behind what he's saying, because he doesn't know how to express himself properly, right? So I'm giving you the last example, and tell me, is it expressing request or is it a demand? Ready? Or is it clear or is it good? Like, what do you think about it? Is it specific? I want you to let me be me. I want you to let me be me. Demand. Okay, yeah, it's not clear. What does that mean? You want to be me? Oh, like, what does that mean? Okay. It means that I want to dye my hair blue, or what does that mean? Or you want me to express my feelings without being shut down, right? Yeah, very good. Okay, so how about, I want you to understand me. Is it clear? Is it specific? I want you to understand me. Not clear. Very good. And how about, I would like you to make dinner once a week. Clear, clear, clear. Good, good, good. Clear, clear, clear. Very good. So thank you, guys. That's awesome. I think Shorejun mentioned something which is very, very important. When you want to talk about, let's say, something that matters to you, that something is interesting, it's important to you, it's very, very important to find the right proper time for that. If you know that your partner, I don't know, just finished working 10 hours and he's so tired and he's so hungry and he's so already, you know, overwhelmed with work and everything, and say, oh, okay, that's the great time to talk to him. No, you know, let him chill, let him rest, and not in front of other people. And it's funny because a lot of couples do that in front of other people, in front of, you know, their friends and family, maybe in through Zoom call or whatever, or when people get together. All of a sudden, they just want to, you know, oh, let's resolve our issues in front of our best friends. No, like, you do these things, and these things are personal, right? You do it in private and you do it when the time is right. So I know we are running out of time, but anyway, so nonviolent communication is based on 4 components: observations, feelings, needs, and requests, and hearing the other person. connecting through our hearts and compassion and empathy. Very, very important. So I would like to hear from maybe a couple of you and tell me, what is your takeaway? What did you learn? Anybody?
Express your feelings.
Effective communication, express your feelings. To hear the other person too, very good. Absolutely, an amazing topic. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is amazing. And there's so much to learn about this. Oh my God, like in my classes and in my courses, actually, I teach this for 8 sessions, like 8 sessions, every single example. And that's awesome. I love it. It's not always about us. Perfect, beautiful. No, it's not. Being polite and non-aggressive. The other person may also have things to say. Very good, thank you. Yeah, we always think about ourselves. Oh, what do you want? What do I need? Good. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. Alireza?
Awesome. Very good. Very good. I really enjoyed it. It was a very, very good topic, a very useful topic. It is applicable to everyone's life for sure.
Yeah. And this is not just for couples, this is for everybody. You know,
every situation, for workplace, personal, and everywhere. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. We still have a few more minutes, 2 more minutes. If there is one last question, it would be great. If you guys have any question, you can type here and Sara will answer.
Sure. You did something wrong yesterday in your conversation, Ghazal Jan, it's okay, we all do.
There is learning for us.
It's always a learning curve, right? We're always learning something. Power struggle, ruin, exactly. Power struggle is ego talking. Ego talking.
True.
Exactly. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Well, good. Thank you, everybody.
Perfect. All right. So we learned that we better not judge, but observe. We learned that we express our feelings, and specifically, we tell them about what we are feeling in a certain way. And then we talk about the needs that we have as specifically as possible. And then we give them a clear request and not to be pushy much about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have to understand. The whole thing is about getting and becoming behaviorally flexible in our relationships. If we understand this, everything will be better, because majority of people see everything from their own point of view, not from the other person's point of view. But when we have mutual understanding, when we put ourselves in other people's shoes, this two-way communication will be much better. Definitely much better. And awesome.
Communication from the heart.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. So what is the topic of your presentation next week? What is the book you're going to talk about?
I think it's Assertiveness Guide for Women.
Okay, I think so. I think I have the list, but I can't. I found it. Sara's next. Oh, it's grief recovery. I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's grief recovery, and number 4 is assertiveness for women.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you again, Sara, for the time and everything.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody. It was a great session. Next week, this time, Sara will be here. She'll be talking about grief recovery. It's an amazing, very useful book. So be with us. And tomorrow, we will be with Solmaz, a very, very important book, The Compound Effect from Darren Hardy, a book that
I love that book. Yeah.
Almost all coaches have read. Definitely, it's a very good book to help us change. So be with us tomorrow, and we will see Sara also next week.
Okay, thank you so much, Alireza. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
You.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.